Opponents are down to 14, 7, and 10. Oh my. Wow.
Today on Commander Replay, we'll be raising our hands, shining up to the sky, cause we got the fire, fire, fire. Yeah, we got the fire, 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 and we gonna let it burn.
Hey guys, there's two great ways to support the channel. All links are in the description below. Welcome back everyone. Playing some Ojer Axonil today, which I think I said right because I have a pronunciation guide next to me. Anyway, let's take a look at this opener. There's two lands. This is a finisher. I don't really want to see that yet. There's no real value in the hand, which scares me. So I'm going to mulligan this and hope to do a little better. Ramp and value. Yeah, I like this better. Ooh, a little light on the red mana, though. We'll just hope that we draw into one of those at some point. But, yeah, this looks like a much better hand. One of my Patreons gave me a real hard time when I put out the short for this commander, and I didn't say it right. And I'm like, there's no pronunciation guide. And he's like, actually, there is. Here you go. And I'm like, ah, crap. Well, guess I need to start saying it right from now on. I used to joke about that. I've joked about it in previous videos. I'm like, they really need a pronunciation guide with some of these words and commanders. And now they've got one, and now I just need the presence of mind to, like, know to look for it in the moment. Thaumatic Compass is something that can solve our red mana problems, and something we can do in turn one here. So we're going to have a pretty good turn one. Land Sol Ring into the Thaumatic Compass, and that is all the value. They changed the way mana looks on Magic Online. How about that? I think it's been a few weeks since I played, but that update must have come with... that hasn't been that long. It's been like a week. Must have come with the Ixalan update. Anyway, let's take a read of our commander. So, Ojer Axonil is a 4-mana 4/4 with Trample, and it says, if a red source you control would deal an amount of non-combat damage less than its power to an opponent, the source deals damage equal to Ojer Axonil's power instead, and when it dies, return it to the battlefield tapped and transformed. On the backside, it is a land, and it's the Temple of Power, and then you can basically you pay 3 to transform it back to the front side, but only if you have red sources that do more than 4 non-combat damage this turn, and only as a sorcery. I think this is an interesting take on the god creature type. So, like, you know, the first set of gods they released were all indestructible. Were only creatures half the time, which made them a real pain in the butt to remove. This is more removable in that sense. I think this is a cool way to go about sort of that, like, I'm a god and I don't die kind of thing. That isn't completely over the top in the way that, like, the original gods were. Because on the other hand, too, it's like, if they're a god and they just die easily to everything, that doesn't seem quite right either. So I think you want, like, a happy medium ground there. Yeah, let's activate this thing. I think that's going to be our first bet here. Oh, it takes 3 to activate that thing, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Let's go ahead, activate Thaumatic Compass, get ourselves a mountain. Oh, man, I forgot to switch my lands over to the new lands. I like some of the new lands in this set, and I may adopt, well, we'll see what happens for Magic Online, but yeah, I may adopt some of the basic lands going forward as my new basic lands of choice. But that is a pain in the butt and a ton of work, so we'll see what happens. Also, I'm excited that we got to use Chandra Torch of Defiance, a card that actually seems pretty good for this deck. As I've talked about, I'm not a huge Planeswalker guy, but more and more I've been trying to jam like maybe 1 or 2 into a deck. It just gives you like a nice threat diversity. If a board wipe goes off, the Planeswalkers usually stick around, so it's nice. In this case, the +1 is exile top card of your library. If you don't cast it, it does 2 damage to each opponent, but if you do, you get a free card out of it. So either damage or card advantage, both great. And with our commander, it doesn't say creature, right? If a red source, yeah, just checking. Yeah, so Chandra being red, that 2 damage becomes whatever Axonil's power is. So that can potentially be a lot of damage. And then you got the ramp. You can shoot a creature if you need to. And in the unlikely scenario that you get the emblem, whenever you cast a spell, this emblem deals 5 damage to any target. But if you do get it, cast a couple spells and you're probably going to win the game. Not a terrible place to be. Dimir Signet. What's funny is, so Fish played a Spine Rock Knoll, and with us doing our thing, it is actually very possible for them to activate that without having to do the 7 damage themselves. Doesn't matter who does it as long as an opponent to Fish takes that damage. They can just leave some mana up, because we'll get there eventually. Anyway, brings back to our turn. There's another mountain. This seems like a reasonable turn for the Inventor's Fair. I do actually like catching that land right there. Yeah, let's do it like this. Let's go... actually, hold on. Hold off on that Inventor's Fair. Cast our Chandra Torch of Defiance. And if we plus for mana, we can get like Rograkh or something like that into play. Firebrand Archer's probably stronger. Well, if we go on all the creatures first. I guess we already cast all the non-creatures. Should have thought about that. So we'll be more mana efficient, and we'll play the Inventor's Fair and get the Rograkh right here. Something that's interesting about this deck, at least relative to my other decks, is that the mana curve is a bit lower than I typically go. We'll pass like that. We'll go take a peek at the deck list, which looks like this. So yeah, this is a lower mana curve than I typically run. A lot of 2-drops, a lot of 3-drops, really tapers off at 4, and like very few at 5 and above. Basically, Ugin's in there basically to kill enchantments, because it's tough to do. I did cut all his dust. Just would I rather have all his dust? Yeah, probably, but needed to cut some stuff, so we did. And Commune with Lava is always a nice piece of card advantage in red, though it is mana intense. And that's not necessarily the name of the game with this deck. I'm probably going to ramp less than I usually do with this deck. I am someone that runs a lot of ramp a lot of the time, but because the curve is lower, I am going to try to get away with less. Hopefully that works out. I don't know. I didn't actually count the ramp, but it should be much lower than my... I mean, a lot of my decks are really pushing like 15 pieces these days. At least 13 in almost everything. Like, there's not a situation where I run less than 13 usually. There's a Sword of Hearthstone. Yeah, those are pretty good. Those are pretty good. Sage of Fables. Oh, that card can be disgusting. And a Rograkh. Yep. It carries swords very well. Protection from white and green. Well, we're red, so we have the ability to potentially block. Not that I necessarily... Well, we have an 0-4. I guess the 0-4 can block, and it's got Menace, though. The Menace will be annoying. Maybe we'll get our Commander in, because then we have blockers for the Rograkh. Convince Fish to go elsewhere. Xavier Sol, Infested Captain. Haven't even seen this one yet. We'll give it a read in a moment, because I think he's about to finish his turn. Valakut. Interestingly, Valakut is not a red source, so it will not get buffed. Which is confusing because it has a lot of red painted on it. But yes, the damage from Valakut should not get pumped by our commander. But it's still a good card nonetheless, so something to have around. Comes in tapped, right? It does indeed come in tapped. Okay, but we'll want to be smart about our mana usage here. So let's cast our command. Yeah, let's cast our commander. Then we shall... I think we just plus for more mana. I know we can start going damage, but I kind of want to get things out of our hand for the Wheel of Misfortune and just kind of set up for that. So, yeah, let's make more mana. Get the Firebrand Archer. And this is a good time to get the tap land. And also, we're not that far away from the emblem now, because we soul ringed into it. And yeah, I think that's it for now. At some point, we activate the Rograkh and try to do a bunch of damage to our opponents. I do think this deck has the potential to be very quick, especially once it's refined. I will say that my current version of this deck is a little bit all over the place. I tried to focus in on more of these tappy creatures just because I like tap creatures because of my tap creature tribal deck. So I thought that'd be a cute route to go with it. But I did add in some of the other Firebrand Archer type stuff. Note that I did not include any of the instant and sorcery based damage ones. I only included the quote non-creature spells versions of these cards because there just isn't that many instants and sorceries in this build of the deck. But I do think if you build a like classic burn deck for like classic commander burn deck, those will be incredibly strong. If you do like rituals, past in flames, plus a lot of burn spells, like that sort of strategy, and like spell doublers, damage doubler, well, maybe damage doublers with this deck. If you do that kind of game plan, it's going to be pretty strong, right? It's going to be pretty good. That is a well-proven strategy in Commander. So, interestingly, if we ultimate this, I think the emblem is colorless. Like, I'm pretty sure that's the case, so it wouldn't get pumped by Ojer. They're going to swing it over to Zombie. Excellent. Let's take a read of what our opponents are doing today. First up is Chaotix 2075 piloting Falco Spara Pact Weaver, one that I always wanted to play, never got around to. 4 mana, 3/3, flying trample. When it enters the battlefield, put a shield counter on it. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast spells from the top of your library by removing a counter from a creature you control, in addition to paying their other costs. So basically, you can cast stuff off the top by removing counters. Seems like a cool little thing. I'm sure there's a million ways to like make that super busted. Seems like the type of thing that you can break pretty easily. that green has tons of +1/+1 counters. White has quite a few too. You know, as I've done the Boros +1/+1 counters deck a number of times, there's a lot of stuff in white that cares about +1/+1 counters. In particular, it tends to be a lot of like the Planeswalkers. The Ajani's are really good at putting counters on things, which is cool. Whose turn is it? Fish's turn. Okay. Also, I was thinking about this the other day, like when I first did the short for this commander. If an opponent takes a low number on Wheel of Misfortune, like, I don't know, 1, 2, or 3, basically, like, it'll become our commander's power. It's a funny little thing. I don't know that it's like, it might, you know, if there's a Black Blader Forged on here, it'll change the game for sure. At, like, the difference between, like, 3 and 4 may not be massive in that context, but it might change how they vote also. Could be interesting. I don't know. Just something I was thinking about. I do think that, like, there is another version of this deck, though, that's, like, even probably faster and more mana efficient than this version, maybe. I think that, I think somewhere with this commander, there's a way where you can... That's a crazy-looking card. There's a way that you can build an almost red deck wins, like, type version of this deck, where your mana curve is super low, and your commander basically allows, you know, all these, like, 2 drops, 3 drops to do enough damage that it's actually meaningful to win a game. I think that's a thing. I think there's a possibility of that, and I would like to explore that a little bit more in the future. And I got about halfway there with this one, but I do think that with revisions, this could be faster and even more efficient. And that brings me to another point, is that if you're building this commander, you will want to choose how you're going to focus in. Like, as I noticed as I was going through EDH Rec, right, there's a couple types of things. You have these Firebrand Archer type creatures, which are obviously very good. You have the tap creatures, which are also good. You have the Punisher creatures, which it seems like there's less of them than I thought there was. There's probably about 4 or so good ones that I saw. Like Zozu, the Eidolon, Harsh Mentor, maybe like 1 or 2 others. And, like, choosing which direction you want to go, I mean, you can do the creature thing, you can also do the spell-based thing, and I do think the spell-based thing will be a very powerful option. Also, Past in Flames and Underworld Breach are, I mean, those are cards that can win games, and they usually do, right? So you want to decide if you're going to be on, like, more of a spell-based plan or more of a creature-based plan, and then when it comes to the creatures, maybe focusing in a bit on specifically the creatures you want to run. When I built this deck, I noticed that I got about 7 to 8 of these, like, Lobber Crew type creatures in the deck. Let's see, opponent's going to make some 1/1s here. X, where X is the number of times you descended this turn. Okay. Which 8 is a weird number, right? It's not 20. If it was 20, you can really easily build a deck around it. Although, those are the versions that say each opponent, not the ones that say 1 damage to a target. Because when you get into 1 damage to a target, there's many more of them, and that you can really easily build around. And that's something I might do in the future also. That's a deck that kind of excites me. I don't know. A lot of things about this commander excite me. A lot of things about this commander excite a lot of people because there's been a lot of hype around this guy. Brings us back to our turn. There's another land. So, oh man. We burning the deflecting swat? I think we're burning the deflecting swat. I mean, it's like one of our very few pieces of protection, but I still think that's what's happening. Play a mountain. Because, like, if we cast the Wheel of Misfortune, it's basically just these 2 cards left. Yeah, let's Wheel of Misfortune. Oh, crap, I forgot to activate the thing. Really? I got chatting. And whoops. Well, Firebrand Archer is going to start doing some damage. Nobody let me forget any more triggers. Or activations in this case. Yep, that's a shot for 4. Opponents are going to feel that. I'm feeling like 7 is going to be a good number. We want to make sure that we draw. 7 usually does it. We're at 40. We can take it. I do think putting a lifelink equipment on the commander is not going to be a terrible idea. Luxodon Warhammer in particular. It's going to really get your power up. And just that little bit of lifelink. That little bit of lifelink with trample. It's going to be nice. One thing with the tap creatures as we wait for opponents to resolve the thing here is... I think I cut it. Let's see if I got it. No, it's still in here. There's a Morog in here. Morog does say untap all creatures you control, which means if you're doing the tap thing, dropping a land untaps all of them. It's a team untap right there, which is pretty... Oh, God, that's a lot of lands. That is too many lands. Okay. Which means... Let's plus this for mana, though I was thinking about card advantage. Let's get the sword. Oh, yeah, opponent's going to feel that one. There's another Firebrand trigger. Wow, yeah, these things will kill you so quickly. Okay, yeah, now as I'm seeing this, like, you can probably build a very fast version of this deck with these type creatures. Sword on the commander. Attacking fish is usually the correct call, so we'll go ahead and do that. We took the damage, by the way. 7 was the highest. It usually is, but I really wanted to make sure we got the draw, so... Yep. Oh, yeah, we can do this, can't we? Okay. So we target our thing with the Sword of Hearth and Home. We tap in response to the Sword of Hearth and Home. We do 1 damage to each opponent, which will become 6 damage. Sorry, math. And opponents are nearly dead. Sure, they are not thrilled about this. Get a mountain. Play End Festivities to keep our stuff alive and do a lot of damage. Oh my god, that's going to get them twice? Wow. Yeah, they're basically just about dead. Opponents are down to 14, 7, and 10. Oh my. Wow. And next turn we can emblem that thing. Oh, this survived? Oh, right, it only does 1 to the creatures. Yeah, that's fine. Might be a little damage going at... well, they don't get the sword trigger if they go at Chandra. Well, I suppose I should finish introducing everyone before they die. In the middle, we've got Fish piloting Rograkh, son of Rograkh, and Akroma, Vision of Ixidor. A lot of keyword stuff happening over here. One that we've played on the channel. I use Ketis a lot of the time. Though I may switch to Rograkh just because Ketis can be really strong. And I wanted it to be strong, where Rograkh can be underwhelming until Akroma's in play, which is I wish there was one that's kind of in the middle between the two. Because a lot of times what happens is Ketis and Akroma means that Akroma kills everyone by herself, and it sort of takes some of the focus off everything else in the deck, which isn't my favorite, but it is a really strong combination of stuff. And then finally, we've got Zombie Caller piloting Xavier Sol. We took a brief look at it. 3 mana, 3/3. Tap it, remove a counter from another permanent you control to populate, activate only as a sorcery, and then sacrifice another creature to proliferate, activate only as a sorcery. Oh, that's interesting. That is very interesting. You can do some stuff with that. And what's this thing? The Myco Tyrant. 3 mana, currently 2/2. Trample. Power and toughness is equal to the number of creatures you control that are fungi or saplings. And at the beginning of each end step, create X black fungus tokens where that can't block, where X is the number of times you've descended this turn. So cares a lot about tokens and fungus and sapling. Opponent's going to attack our Planeswalker. That's a good idea. Yeah, don't let us get that ultimate. I mean, it's already opponents are already in really bad shape. God, if we activated this, if I didn't forget to activate this, that'd be another 4 on everyone. Everyone would be single digits, except KO. But as it stands right now, well, what kind of damage do we have right now? So this will untap next turn. If we don't cast a spell off of that, that's lethal. It's lethal on everyone, is what that is. If we find a non-spell, if we find a non-creature spell of any kind, that's 7 more damage. And I didn't even build this to be a CEDH deck. But, now I'm starting to wonder. Now, it's a type of thing that, this is all very vulnerable to removal. So that's a thing. Single piece of removal is going to make all this fall apart real quickly. But, yeah, it's turn 5, and we're talking about winning the game next turn. We played a Soul Ring, which, undoubtedly a powerful card. But it's not like we did, CEDH type mana, where, Mana Crypts and all the free ones start dropping down. That's a Valakut Awakening for Fish. So what I'm getting to is that we could be faster. We could generate more mana more quickly if you throw I don't even know how much mana you really need. You need a little bit, but if you go down the ritual route with rituals, Past in Flames, and that sort of thing, Underworld Breach. Yeah, that's. We might be talking about a CEDH deck. I don't know. You guys let me know. I don't play that much CEDH anymore. It's it's probably not going to beat Thassa's Oracle, but maybe there's that chance that no one's prepared for burn at a CEDH table. I don't know. They're going to attack the Planeswalker, which means we'd have to give up the Firebrand Archer. Well, it's only 2 more, and we're already back into we need to plus it mode, so I guess we just let it go through. And they're going to lose the sword trigger too. So Chandra soaking up damage for us. Controversial opinion. Most of the red Planeswalkers for Commander are pretty mid. I think they're much more at home in Standard, where smaller damage values and stuff like that are more impactful. But Chandra Torch of Defiance is very well suited to Commander. Card advantage and ramp are on the plus, right? On the plus that's huge. That is huge, and it's especially huge in red, right? In green you wouldn't care about the ramp, and blue you wouldn't care about the card advantage, but red isn't super well suited to ramp or card advantage necessarily. So yeah, Chandra Torch of Defiance. The only thing that might be awkward about CEDH is that we do have an equipment on here, and that's there's not usually too many equipments floating around CEDH, though I'll tell you what, when I used to run Feast and Famine, And Feast and Famine shuts down a lot of nonsense. Means a lot of not blocking, and a lot of removal spells do contain black in EDH. So, Assassin's Trophies and things like that. So, another concern too with this deck is that if the commander's not in play, these don't do that much. Like it'll be paper cuts, but the damage only piles on like this when the commander's in play. So there is that. Ask an opponent, do you have any removal? Fish tried to find the removal. KO didn't. Kind of up to Zombie. If they can kill at least something of ours, right? Like ideally the commander, but getting rid of literal anything of ours would increase their chances of surviving another turn. But Diabolic Tutor. The commander's in play. If he were running the free kill spell, that would buy them some time. I forget, that Sulfum deck that I played a while back, which the mana base on this one's based off of, was that 6 turns also? I think it might have been. We do gain a life with Inventor's Fair. Always fun. Another land. Opponents may have caught a break on that. Let's activate Chandra Torch of Defiance. What do we hit? A Skull Clamp. Oh, that's such good card draw. It is such good card draw. Let's cast it, actually, because it'll trigger the Firebrand Archer. Pay 1. Should use Colorless. Oops. Triggers Firebrand Archer. Yeah, I mean, now everyone's just about dead anyway. Oh, right, yeah, Firebrand makes it even... Yeah. Skull Clamp this thing. This one's a little slow, but, yeah, you know. Play the Makokoro. Oh, we can get more damage on there, can't we? Oh, yeah, I know what we do. We Skull Clamp this. Activate that. That'll be a shot for 7 into Zombie and Fish and put KO very low. They both go down, and then we should just be able to get here with combat. Yeah, he's at 1 on the literal 1 yard line. Send this thing in. Wow, they died really quickly. That was 6 turns, so removal is 100% necessary against this commander, especially like Swords and Paths, things that exile it, are going to be very good for you. Also, the time of this game was 37 minutes, which is unbelievably fast. Usually they take about an hour 20 to film. That's what like a 8 to 9 turn game usually goes. Yeah, this thing's really strong. And we have the Soul Ring start, which definitely speeds us up, right? Like it's a little more fair if we don't have that. But God, it took so little, right? Like I mean, I guess we did play a decent number of cards, but they're all so cheap, right? Like, it's not like we're sitting here trying to drop Magmatic Forces and stuff like that, Inferno Titans that are expensive, and, you know, it's hard to get a lot of those. But, yeah, I mean, it's the fact that we played, like, a 2-drop, a 3-drop, our commander, and equipment, and, like, a couple spells. That was the game. That was the entire game. Opponents are dead. Yes. I knew it was going to be strong. I guess part of me thought it would be this strong, and the other part of me was hopeful that it wasn't, but it is in fact that strong. So, if you see one at the table, you should definitely shoot it, and we'll see if we have another time to film a second game here. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.
I want to thank my awesome Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. If you want to help support the channel or vote on which decks I play next, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below.